program just announced a recruit signing, Jalen, a wide receiver. Any comment on him?
The program just announced that?
Yeah, Oregon Gridiron just.
See, I better not say anything because I don't know yet. There's some. I'm going to abstain from answering that one because we're with all the new legislation. There's some things you can't, but I'll answer that. See, I'm just fresh from practice, so I will have a comment.
All right.
Coach,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry.
Two mics.
Coach, how much improvement has Arizona shown over the past couple of years over Rich Rodriguez? I know that's a loaded question to evaluate someone else, but they seem like they're growing and moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean they in a lot of ways similar to kind of Utah. They've had a couple of just oddball endings to games or kind of it seems like they're playing better than the result of the game may have indicated. But I think their quarterback's playing really well. I think he and Kerry are, Kerry and me would be a dynamic duo because I'd hand it to him and get out of the way. But those two guys are playing in sync really well. The Phillips kid, the freshman receiver, is making a ton of plays. He scored the most touchdowns out of all those guys. And I think they're just playing together, and probably part of that is the second cycle in the system, including the spring and familiarity. And then defensively, I think they've been similar enough to what they've done in the past that the older players, the more veteran guys, haven't really missed a beat with a system change, and they're playing fast and physical.
What kind of benefit does it get for a guy to enroll early for college, for your program?
It depends. It really depends on the guy, and I think it's a totally just guy for guy deal when you look at that stuff. I'm more of the ilk that be a kid, be a senior in high school, go to your prom, play whatever your spring sport is. I think there's a ton of value in that. Conversely, for the right guy, it can be of tremendous value, especially a guy that's going to come in and compete at a certain position or something like that. But I think there's a lot of value in being a high school guy. All those things guys want to enroll early and come out early and just do everything right now, and I don't know, there's pluses and minuses.
Any more questions? I don't try to force you. We go home early.
Kadeem Carey seems to be one of the more dynamic backs in the conference.
Yes, he does.
What does this Oregon team need to do in order to slow him down this week?
Gang tackle, and do your job. He's a guy that because of how good he is, if I'm the quarterback player, I'm going to take a half a step to carry and not, be 100% dialed into my job. But our quarterback player has to play the quarterback. Our tailback player has to try to tackle him by himself, and then everybody else has to rally. And so I think it's just a relentless pursuit of the ball.
I know when we're talking about your rushing stats, it's kind of relatively speaking, since we're talking about 150-something yards rushing instead of 300 yards rushing. But you face a different style of defense this week in Arizona than the last 2 weeks. How does that change for the O-line up front, and does it maybe help the kind of their preparation in terms of the struggles that they've had the last couple of weeks?
Yes and no. I mean, they are a different structure. They're a different front structure than the last two teams we've played. To a degree, they're a 3-3 stack base defense. But the thing about that, people look at that as a nickel defense, as a dime defense. It can morph into a 9-man front, depending on the formation that you're in, and they always try to outnumber you in the run game. They try to their nose does a great job of eating up space and eating up double teams to let the linebackers run, and so it's a different deal in terms of identification for our guys up front, and we've got to just play more fundamentally sound. We've got to finish better after we identify the look.
Molly?
Can you talk a little bit about the venue itself? You've had some really weird things happen to Oregon there, whether it's injury or overtime or things of that nature. What do you think of playing there, and what do you remember from, say, 2009 and 2007?
Well, it's a brand new slate, right? Everything's new. They redid everything, and the field's new, so everything's new. Yeah, I mean the overtime game, that was one of the most. That was a great game to be involved in, win or lose. I remember we were talking in the middle of that game, like it'd be a lot more fun sitting somewhere watching this game than the gut wrenching thing that it was. But yeah, I think they've had a lot of, again, a lot of familiarity with the players that we've, either recruited or known about, that our guys have had a lot of, Southern California guys, a lot of Texas guys, crossover that way. But yeah, it's another tough place to play in this conference.
Jason.
Coach, over the years in your 11th game, you've had some losses. Have you guys addressed
You guys are working
that?
like all the karma right here, the bad, yeah.
Is there any consistencies, and have you guys addressed that? Or,
I think we've addressed it hopefully earlier in the year, or how we've kind of tweaked certain things leading up to this point, how we've practiced a little bit more, a little bit less during this, period of time, lifted a little bit differently as the season goes along, how you practice a little bit later in the season, you tend to taper things a little bit, and hopefully that leads to playing fast.
Ryan.
Mark, Coach Aliotti had a lot of praise for Tyrel Robinson after the game the other night. What is he like as a player, and is it kind of unique to have twin brothers with their skill set in the program?
Well, definitely unique to have the twin aspect to it, although we have two of them, which is probably even more bizarre. What's the research on that? How many teams have two sets of twins?
Schools have had 3 or 4 this year.
We're way behind. Yeah. But yeah, he's a guy that you can just, he's in that mode right now where he's just processing and then playing, and he's still pretty fast. And so a guy like that, when it's just one snap deal where that's processing and playing becomes one fail swoop, he's got a step. He's powerful. He plays the game how he practices and how he does drills, and that's a great thing for a young guy that freshmen, especially at that position, usually tend to overthink things. They take a false step, and there's no way they can get there. But he's given himself a chance by just his fundamentals that DP work hammers home with those guys, and again, hopefully he'll just do nothing but get better.
There's been a perception over the last couple of weeks that you guys have regressed. Do you feel you're still progressing?
I do feel that we're still progressing. Who's had the perception? Yeah, nationally. Nationally, people have to say things and make broad-based, sweeping statements. I mean, that's every week of this season, there's been a game of the century. And that's the nature of the emotion that goes with college football, and that's awesome. And good or bad, like I said yesterday, our guys have put themselves in a position by what they've done to make 44-14, against a conference opponent, a quality conference opponent, frustrating and not enough. And that's fine. That's fine from a perception standpoint. And then it's just, you look, from a scheduling standpoint this week around the country, there's a lot of conferences that play a lot different schedule than the Pac-12 does. And the some of those teams, their scores are going to look a lot different than our score. Or a team that wins a conference game, 21-17, and they're a workmanlike effort, and if we won a game 21-17, you'd try to fire me. And so, it's just kind of that's part of the deal. And our guys believe in our system of, hey, win or lose, what can we do better? Show up and do better. So I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Do you anticipate having Keenan Lowe back in the lineup this week?
Don't know yet.